Welcome to TalkNorth.com. Thanks to our longtime producer, Brandon Morton. Please download before you listen. If you'd like to advertise with us, you can reach us at talknorthpodcast@gmail.com. And please follow us on Twitter at TalkNorthPod. Two promo codes to be aware of. BiteSquad.com. Use the promo code TalkNorth to get your first delivery free. And go to SodaStick.com, the great local apparel company. Use the promo code YouBetcha to get free shipping on any sized order. Thanks to everybody who listens to Preps Today with John Millea and the TalkNorth.com podcast network. Thanks to Pizza Barn Princeton for sponsoring this program in particular. And we're going to dive right into the prep activities of the week. Another track record falls, John.
Yeah, Jim, this is getting to historic territory for Hopkins senior Joe Fonbella. We've talked about him more than we've talked about anybody. This spring he is just dominating. He set another state record last week. He ran the 100 meters in 10.23 on Thursday. And at that time, the fastest boys 100 meters in the nation this spring was 10.21. So Joe ran 10.23. Of course, then on Saturday, a speedster in Texas ran 10.13, which was amazing. And that's a national record. That's
I covered high school sprinting in Texas. Woo.
Yeah.
I mean, I covered high school sprinting in Texas, and I never really saw that level of elite competition in track until I covered the Olympics again.
Yeah, it's amazing. And this kid in Texas, his name's Matthew Bowling. He ran a 9.98 the week before. That was wind aided, so that didn't go as a record, but this one was not. So Joe Fonbella, all he's done in basically less than the last calendar year is have a hand in 4 state records. Last year at the state track meet, he anchored the Hopkins 4x200 relay team that set a state record. A couple of weeks later, he was at a national meet, won a national championship in the 200, setting a Minnesota state record. And then we've talked about earlier this spring, he was the anchor on the Royals 4x200 relay that set a state record at the Hamlin Elite Meet. So dude's got his name out on 4 state records. And I don't know if that's ever been done. Wow. And just the fact that he's done all of that in less than a year. Track athletes generally, by the time they're a sophomore or early in their junior year, they're on that level. Especially distance runners, they tend to have longer careers, it seems like. But for a sprinter to just come, out of the blocks, so to speak, like he has since the end of last season, it's really amazing. And, he's going to run at Florida. I mean, if you don't think they can't find sprinters in Florida, tells you how good he is that they're getting this kid from Minnesota. So, and I've said it before, these records are going to keep going faster. These kids from Hopkins are going to keep running faster as the weather heats up. And that was amazing. I was in a hotel room in Wilmer, Minnesota when I saw. In fact, I was pumping gas at a Casey's in Wilmer Thursday night, looking at my phone when I saw the first tweet about this. And I don't jump into these things right away. I waited. I got checked into my room. We can go into why I was in Wilmer here next. But so I started messaging people. Was it wind aided? Was there wind? No, there was no wind. And if there was, it was a crosswind. This was on the track at Hopkins, which is a north-south track. So if there was a wind, it was a crosswind. And they didn't have a wind meter there anyway. So this is an official record. But it's amazing to standing at Casey's in Wilmer on the highway pumping gas, and you see, the kid did it again.
That's awesome.
And really amazing.
And to sidetrack a little bit here, by the way, the star of the show is John Millea from mshsl.org. He writes John's Journal there, and he goes around the state finding great stories and offering great perspective. Why is Hopkins such an athletic hotbed? Because it's not like this major, it's not like Lakeville is just massive, or Eden Prairie is just massive.
It's not an outer ring suburb
No.
anymore. It's kind of one of those mid-ring suburbs. It's not a giant school. Its
No.
enrollment doesn't match the biggest schools, but their coaches, in all these sports are great,
Right.
and really dedicated. Yeah, I don't know what's in the water at Hopkins, with basketball and especially track now in the spring. It's just they're kind of on one of those runs where they've got great athletes, of course, in basketball,
Right.
boys and girls. It's been that case for a long time, and they've been really strong in track forever. I mean, they've had a great history of cross country and track, and it's I don't know how you maybe somebody from Hopkins could put a finger on it better than I can.
Yeah,
just great kids, committed coaches, and tradition. It's part of it.
Yeah, we'll ask for Twitter questions next week if anybody wants to chime in on why Hopkins has become so dominant in those sports in particular. Let us know. Let's go to Drive of the Week.
Okay, the Drive of the Week. I talked about being in Wilmer. So last Friday I was at an event at Wilmer High School at 7 a.m., and at 7 p.m. Friday I was at a baseball game in Pine Island. So I hit central Minnesota and southeastern Minnesota. I headed down to Wilmer Thursday afternoon. I would have had to leave Friday morning about 4 a.m. to get there for this event, but got there in time to watch some boys tennis. Wilmer hosting Alexandria in boys tennis. Really a fun time. But boy, when you see teams in the metro that have indoor courts that hardly ever play outdoors, this is not the case. You get outstate. Wilmer has no place to play inside the school. They have a kind of a all-purpose room where they can do lots of activities, and they have room for one tennis court in there. But that's not gonna do much. And one of the seniors on the team, Hunter Fisher, he's a rarity. He's a triplet. All three boys are on the tennis team at Wilmer. But Hunter came up and introduced himself to me. Word had gotten out that I was coming. And he pointed out to me, I was asking him about, no indoor courts, everything you do is outside. He kind of pointed to the giant windmills that are right next to the school. He said, when you see windmills right there, you know the kind of conditions we play in. It's windy. It was cold that day. And really fun. And I hung out with my buddy Hal Miller. He's a high school league Hall of Famer.
I know the name.
Yep, he's a great guy. He taught and coached in Wilmer for his entire career. He's retired now. And he's most famous, if anybody who's ever been to a state tennis tournament, you've probably seen Hal in action. He's a fixture there. He helps run the tournaments. All the kids know him and love him. So Hal and I hung out at the tennis. He bought me dinner in Wilmer, and then we parted ways, and I went to Casey's for a tank of gas and found out about the new track record. But the reason I was there, Friday morning, Wilmer High School held its second annual signing ceremony for future teachers. And they were kind enough to invite me and ask me to speak, which I happily did. It started at 7 a.m. in the media center at the school. They had breakfast ready for everybody. There were, I don't know, maybe a dozen kids who planned to become teachers. Their parents were there. Each of the students was told to invite a special guest who's had an impact on them, most of them. It was a special teacher, whether it was a high school teacher. One young lady asked her fifth grade teacher to come, and it was really neat. It took about an hour. The principal spoke, I spoke, and then all the kids came up to the front of the group and talked about why they wanted to be a teacher, who inspired them, who they thanked, what they want to teach, where they're going to go to college. It was really neat, and by my count, this has been kind of a Twitter endeavor here. I count about a dozen schools doing this spring. Now, last spring there were 3 or 4. So this thing is growing. So my list right now is Albert Lee, Burnsville, Delano, Faribault, Henry Sibley, Maple Lake, Prior Lake, Sartell, St. Paul, Wayzata, Wilmer, and Wyndham. If your school is doing it, and I just did not say the name of your school, let me know. We'll add them to the list. And this thing kind of started, I want to say 2 years ago. I found out about a school in Iowa, Norwalk High School outside of Des Moines, that was doing this. I just saw something on social media. They were having a signing ceremony, and it wasn't for athletes. It was for kids who want to be teachers. So I got a hold of the superintendent down there, and I said, how did this come about? And he said, well, we have our athletic signing ceremonies every year. And I thought, we're in the business of educating young people. Why don't we do something similar? And I don't know if that's the only place it had been done in the country. He wasn't aware of any other places. So I kind of tried to get that ball rolling here. And it's really neat just to see these kids. Boy, talk about impact, the impact of teachers when you see these kids that want to be teachers. And I told the group there, my mom's a retired teacher. 2 of our 3 kids are teachers. There's no more important profession in the world. So thanks to everybody in Wilmer. That was really great. Just made a lot of new friends. It's a great community there, and they do great things. So then Friday night, I'm in Pine Island for a baseball game. Pine Island is hosting Lake City. And this was a big deal. They just got lights at Pine Island at their baseball field. And this was pretty cool. You know who Clyde Deppner is, the Twins curator. Okay, we all, anybody who's familiar with the Twins or who's covered the Twins, we know Clyde. He's the historian, the curator for the Twins. He was the high school baseball coach in Pine Island in the late 60s.
I didn't know that.
His first job out of Winona State
was
hired to teach and coach baseball. And he told a great story of his initial salary the first year was like $325 to coach the varsity, freshman, sophomore team, and the 7th and 8th grade team. No assistant coach.
Wow.
So he wanted to negotiate with the athletic director. He said, and the AD said, if you can find another teacher who wants to help out, that's fine. And he found somebody. This teacher didn't have a glove or spikes, but was interested. So Clyde goes back to the AD. I got an assistant, but what are we going to pay him? And the guy said, we don't have any money to pay an assistant. And Clyde wanted to pay the assistant. Clyde, I think, was going to get $325. The assistant, he wanted the assistant to get $250. And finally, the AD agreed, we'll pay him $125. So here, Clyde, sign your coaching contract, sign here, sign here, sign here. By the time he walked out of the room, the $125 for the assistant was coming out of Clyde's check. So he said, I walked in making $325. I walked out making $200. But he had a check for $200 in his pocket that he handed over to the folks in Pine Island to help pay the light bills.
Oh, that's great.
That are now, he said, now I can say I would have coached that first year for nothing. And here's the proof. I'm giving back my salary. So it was a neat little pregame ceremony. Craig Anderson is the former longtime baseball coach down there, a Hall of Famer. He set the whole thing up. But something I'd never seen, they have the new lights, which are great, but a new scoreboard and a space on the scoreboard for pitch counts, which Major League Baseball, yeah, we all see that, but I've never seen that in a high school baseball scoreboard. So
wow.
So that was pretty nice. They had the veterans.
Probably even more important at the high school level,
out the colors, a big, nice crowd. Beautiful night. Just as much fun as you could have. And Clyde kind of wrapped up his pregame remarks. He said he hopes the next time he comes to Pine Island, it's for another ceremony to rename the place Craig Anderson Field, which I imagine will happen, and I'll be there too. So thanks to everybody again in Wilmer and Pine Island. That was about as good a Friday as anybody's ever had. That was a couple of different kind of events, but really fun for me.
That's fantastic. Yeah. And you even brought a Deppner story into it.
Yeah,
That's
how
so
about
cool.
that?
You know what? You were talking, Casey's should be sponsoring this program. You probably fill up your car at Casey's every 2 days.
I can tell you the cleanliness of the bathrooms at every convenience store in Minnesota. I think Casey's is right up there, man.
That's awesome. So if anybody knows somebody at Casey's, get him on the horn. John's the perfect representative for Casey's all around the state, and we are lucky to have a great representative for us, a great sponsor for us as well. Pizza Barn in Princeton. PizzaBarnPrinceton.com is the website. Family owned. Now Jody Stay is running the joint. Cool place to hang out. Yeah. Cool beers, gluten-free pizza, great pizza, pizzas of the month. Go to PizzaBarnPrinceton.com, and you can find out about the beers and all the dine-in specials, delivery specials, and the pizza of the month.
Yeah, it's a great place, Jim, and we're recording this Monday afternoon. Tuesday night, I'm going to see Jody because we talked last week about this event at Tartan High School Tuesday night to try to recruit, high school seniors and college students to become officials. And Jody has volunteered to bring free pizza for everybody. So I'll see her, and you talk about a commitment. Downtown Princeton is 66 miles from Tartan High School in Oakdale. That's more than an hour drive, and she's going to come and bring free pizza. And she even tweeted, if any kids, any seniors from Princeton or Malacca want to go to this event, let her know. She'll take you along. She'll give you a ride to the recruiting events. So, summer's heating up, and if anybody's heading north, if you're going up to the cabin, you're on 169 through Princeton. Pull off or call ahead, and they've got take and bake pizzas to go. You can take to the cabin. Specialty pizzas, you can order your own, build your own. They've got breakfast pizzas. You can stick them in the freezer when you get to the cabin, and tell Jody that the boys from Preps Today with John Millea, John and Jim said hi. And I'm looking forward to seeing Jody at this officials thing Tuesday night.
Yeah, Jody's a blast. We had a good time when we were up there last time. Street sign of the week, John.
This is again back to Casey's. This is in